mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
Duo.
of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Wulf and Zach kicking it cooler than
Two.
Penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Wulf and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We
their
are
wings
going
on.
to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this city. Hello, everybody. Happy anniversary to Jack Del Rio, and welcome to Birds with Friends. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn here to talk about the Eagles' upcoming game against the New York Giants. We have a special guest coming up after the break. Deniz himself will come and profess to us. We'll have Swooper, but we got to get to the breaking news. The Eagles injury report is out. We'll get to that in 1 second before, or after, rather, we say hi to Marissa. Marissa, how are you?
I am doing great. How are you guys doing?
A lot of positive response to you dominating the last episode.
Well,
she was outstanding.
none of that matters because the positive news we heard from Damar Hamlin speaking today to the Bills and his family. So that is the only thing that matters, and definitely feel good Friday for sure.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's awesome. Miles Sanders today was talking about he got to FaceTime with him. And he was like, dude, you're like the most famous person in the world. And Damar was like, well, not for good reasons, but it is for good reasons. I mean,
It's amazing recovery.
It's unbelievable. So, so Feel Good Friday is right. And I guess with that, we turn our attention, like the rest of the league is, to the games that are going on. And because of that, we'll send it over right away to the Stone Cold newsman himself with the injury report hot off the press. Zach Berman, what do you know?
Well, the big news is Jalen Hurts. We will get to that in a moment because we have late breaking news that occurred right as the theme song was playing for Birds with Friends. I don't know if Bo Wulf has seen this yet or not. Sua Opeta, Eagles offensive lineman, was waived this afternoon, opening a roster spot. The Eagles need to open a few roster spots. So this was the first step in doing so. So now that we have that established, Jalen Hurts, the big story here. Jalen Hurts has been participating in practice throughout the week. Nick Sirianni says he's trending in the direction to play. There are some final hurdles that Hurts needs to clear, but Hurts is officially questionable for this game. If you recall, 2 weeks ago he was doubtful for this game. Last week, or he was doubtful. He was out last week. He was doubtful. Today, questionable for the Giants game. So progressing, and we're operating under the presumption that he is going to play. Hurts was officially a limited participant in practice today, which means he did not take the full allotment of snaps. So something to monitor, but we are operating under the presumption that he's going to play. The players who are out this week are Sean Bradley, Lane Johnson, Avonte Maddox, and Janarius Robinson. We talked about Miles Sanders earlier this week, has a knee injury, but he's going to play, no injury designation. You'll notice on this report, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Robert Quinn are not on the injury report. That is because they're not on the 53-man roster at the moment. They are eligible to return. They have been practicing this week. Nick Sirianni says it's looking good for them, but still, they have to see. The Eagles would have to open up roster spots for them. The Opeta move opened up one. There's another one that has to open for Quinn to come up. That could potentially be Janarius Robinson if they put him on injured reserve. But they also have to potentially open a third roster spot for Brett Kern. Brett Kern has been elevated 3 times to be the Eagles punter. So if he plays this weekend as the punter, he will need to go on the 53-man roster. But that's the news from the NovaCare Complex. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Thanks, Zach. We talked about Sua as a possibility, I think, a couple weeks ago because he has been inactive. He's a restricted free agent this upcoming offseason. So the Eagles have, you're talking about like the depth that they want to keep around. There's less of a future there. Disappointing for him. I think there's a good chance he would be back on the practice squad. Obviously, it's week 18. So if a team's going to claim him, they're not going to get to play him in this final game. So we'll see what happens. He might be back. Go ahead.
From a roster perspective, like if you're looking now we're really in the weeds here, but
That's
if
where
they
that's where
want
we live, baby.
if they want Sua Opeta on the roster for the offseason, for training camp, this is a better move for the Eagles than if he's on the 53-man roster and he therefore becomes a restricted free agent, because then they would need to decline his tender and he would go into unrestricted free agency at that point.
To a futures contract.
Yes, exactly.
Marissa
So
nodding along like,
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
like, I
obviously.
don't like it because I'm gonna look from like Sua Opeta's perspective, but yes.
So what the Eagles can do is they can sign him to the practice squad, and assuming no one claim or signs him off their practice squad during the playoffs, then whenever the Eagles season's finished, be it after a playoff game, after the Super Bowl, the Eagles can then sign him to a futures contract, and therefore he is under contract for the offseason, where they would not have had that certainty had Opeta's contract expired at the end of the year. So I don't know if that was a factor here, but it is kind of interesting behind the scenes of what they're doing.
I'm gonna tell you right now that Opeta gets claimed.
Interesting. By a playoff team.
Maybe not. I mean, he can get claimed by a team who is going to be eliminated from the playoffs. They claim him before does this go through Sunday morning, and then they can just have him on the roster and release somebody else, and then he's just on their roster?
No, so this would go through. I think I don't think waivers process now until after this week's games.
I think it's Monday.
Yeah,
it might be Monday.
I think until Monday. And why would a team claim him just to have him as a restricted free agent?
Because they think he's better than what they have, I guess.
But then you would need to give him an RFA tender.
Yeah, but maybe I think.
But you don't have to necessarily give him a tender to then re-sign him. You could.
No, but then he'll become unrestricted.
Right, but you have his rights, and you can negotiate.
Yes.
Whatever you can negotiate.
Okay.
A deal.
So you think a team's
but he could also
the original round
go on
tender
and negotiate.
He's an undrafted player, so the original round tender is not prohibitive for a player who is like a borderline starting caliber guard, I think.
Jalen Hurts is questionable for this game that we just spent.
We got 8 minutes on Sua.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, I think this makes sense for the Eagles. I believe that his value in the league is high enough that I think he may end up elsewhere.
I'll defer to you on all Sua matters. So
okay. All right, let's talk Jalen Hurts, Zach. We did not hear from Jalen Hurts this week. No. It is the team's prerogative that a player who is up in the air status-wise does not have to talk. He talked 2 weeks ago when he wasn't going to play, but he did not talk this week. Instead, we heard from Gardner Minshew. As you said, he has done more than he did last week. This week, Nick Sirianni said things are trending in the right direction. Out of 100 turkeys, how many turkeys are you willing to say that he will play?
75.
Okay. That's lower than you said the other day.
I thought it'd be more.
85. I forget. Yeah. I mean, the turkey game, it's not scientific. I think he's going to play. I'll speak that way. I think it would surprise me if Jalen Hurts does not start this game.
Okay. But 75 is not.
It's hard for me. Like,
that doesn't sound like a certainty.
So what did I say the other day?
I thought you were in the 80s. Yeah.
Okay, so let's make it 85 then. I really can't.
Well, that's a big difference. 10 percentage points.
Sure.
You understand that turkeys are like it's a 1-to-1 in terms of percentage.
No,
it's not like a different.
I recognize that. But it's the same way when you ask a player like what percent would you say you are? I mean, how is that? How do you know the difference between 75 and 83? Right? I always wonder that. It's like what T.O. said, 81% going into the Super Bowl. That was a good line. It's hard to say what I would go with. What did Shield play? The Likert scale. What's the Likert scale? Unlikely.
You think that's better?
I don't know. We don't need to go on this tangent. I think Jalen Hurts is going to play for this 85%. Okay, I think he's going to play.
All right. And so, why the obfuscation?
Why? Because I suppose there's still medical clearance that needs to go through, or just because You never say never, and until it would really surprise me if he doesn't play. He's been taking these snaps, speaking to teammates this week. It's like no one's downplaying this. AJ Brown says he looks great. That it's not his decision, but if he had to make a call, he would say Jalen's playing on Sunday. Goddard, spoke similarly. Dallas, even Gardner Minshew today, right, said he's a freak. He's doing everything that they need him to do out there. So it really seems like the only person who's putting any limitations on him right now is Nick Sirianni, and that's probably gamesmanship or being purposely over careful. I think he's going to play. So let's say 90%. I'm not obfuscating at all. I just 90%, let's say.
Okay, let's see how high we can get you by the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Creeping up already. All right. How about Gardner-Johnson and Robert Quinn? Is your expectation that both will play in this game?
Yes.
The Janarius Robinson injury, just tough timing for the guy. Like, what are the odds? What are the odds that just when a roster spot needs to be open, that ankle just comes back and bites on him, just like it did the first time he needed a roster spot?
Yeah,
he was walking around practice today, looking like he was about to do a 360 windmill dunk. Like
that's what I call the Donnell Pumphrey, which in 2017,
different body types, the two of them, I would say.
Different body, yeah, for sure.
Janarius Robinson is about 8 Donnell Pumphreys.
Yeah. But in 2017, they just told Pumphrey to get injured, basically. And I can't say that for a fact, right?
Like a Roger Dorn.
I take that back. I don't know what occurred, and I shouldn't make light of a player's injury. But
the Sean Bradley one is interesting though, because
he got hurt in the game the other day,
right? And I don't think that they would actually want to put him on IR.
No, but I think linebacker is a spot where they're a little deeper because they brought Christian Ellis up. They didn't cut a linebacker when they did so that's a position to watch. For Kern, and for Gardner-Johnson, I think Quinn's going to be up because if you put Robinson on IR,
right,
then you're already down Sweat. You just need edge rushers,
or you promote Teron Jackson.
You promote Teron Jackson. You could do that.
Game.
That's true. Talking to Quinn this week, he's improving. We'll see. I like speaking to Robert Quinn.
Yeah, I like speaking to Robert Quinn too.
Yes,
but they do need another body there.
Yes.
After the game, Brandon Graham with the family was just talking about like, man, I was tired. Like he kept joking about it because he played the most snaps he's played all season. He was like, I've been asking for more snaps. I got snaps, and poof, I was not ready.
Very subtle mention. We really should highlight this. Bo had an outstanding story today on The Athletic. No, it's one of these things. I actually think, like, for Marissa probably enjoyed it because you're a really good writer, but she understands it. I don't want to speak for Marissa here. For most of our audience here, who is not related to an NFL player, if you don't know what it's like to watch someone you're related to play in an NFL game, Bo was there with Brandon Graham's wife, Carolyn.
Carlene.
I'm sorry, Carlene. I apologize, Carlene. And really humanized the Grahams and did a great job. I'll defer to you if you want to pump the story, but I really enjoyed it.
Well, you can read it on The Athletic. Go check it out.
What a sell!
Well, I mean, I spent the day
don't
with
go
Carlene.
over
What's
here.
it like to? I teased it last episode, but yeah. What's it like to be a player's wife and also a player of that stature? Because Brandon Graham is and the Grahams as a whole are sort of a Philadelphia institution at this point.
It's funny, but when you're like promoting something, like, I mean, this sounds like a flex. If like you're promoting a book,
I've never written a book.
And you're supposed to have like your 90-second spiel on what the book's about. I would love if I just said, go to the bookstore and read it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It makes me uncomfortable.
Okay. Well,
I would not be good at the selling my book part of the job. Okay, let's sell your book.
Thank you. Available wherever books are sold.
I did it is a little like Marissa. I'm sure you guys have your own Michael Dunn suite where
no. Unfortunately not. I did love all those pictures. There's some great pictures in there too. I love seeing all the kids and I think that's amazing. But
awesome photographer too. If you saw
Yeah.
the photo credits. Yeah.
Do you is it okay, Zach, for me to ask you? You can turn me down on this.
I don't know where this is going.
But your thoughts on Zach Pascal playing catch with the Graham kids?
Yeah. So I'll give. Look, at this point, I think it's okay to say.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I've been wanting to write this story on Zach Pascal having catches before the game with kids, and I had this. It comes from Victor Cruz. He did it at his first game with Victor Cruz. I think I talked about that this summer, maybe not. And I did all this reporting on the story, and before 2 games, I just wanted to see him in person do it because I'm trying to kind of link different generations, and both times I was out on the field, Zach Pascal didn't do it, but
twice you went out of your way.
I see all these videos of him and it's like literally the 2 times. And now I'm like the boy who cried wolf. I can't keep telling the team like, can I get a field pass so I can watch this?
Right. Cause we don't usually get to go on the field.
Yes, exactly. So now I was thinking about this when I texted Bo about it. The 2 times I went were primetime games. So maybe the schedule was different for a primetime game relative to a Sunday game. I don't know. But yeah, I've seen videos of those different people where Pascal's had catches with them, and I'm like, the 2 times I was down there, it hasn't occurred.
Brutal. Tough loss. That's the
would have been a good story. I got some good insight. Yeah.
Hopefully maybe that reporting could lead to something else down the line. All right. Anything else from the news portion of the show here? You
on a serious note, you mentioned Miles Sanders earlier. This was the first time he addressed this. You were there speaking with him. Can you kind of enlighten the audience on Miles's perspective on Damar Hamlin?
Yeah. So he said like he and Damar Hamlin are very close. He said they talk like every day, and they'll like FaceTime each other after both of their games. They grew up in Pittsburgh, playing against each other in high school. Didn't go to college together, but have remained close. They do some charity events together in the off season, and they're like super tight. And he said that he was not watching the game when it happened. He was like doing errands, and he came home, and his people were telling him like they've been doing CPR on Damar for 8 minutes. And he's like you telling me he's dead? Like what? And so for him to see that and go through that obviously was very difficult. And he's just super grateful that he's been, things seem to be going well. And as I said before, they FaceTimed earlier today. They were able to joke around. And so I asked him if it has like changed his relationship with football at all. He said, no, like you got to just like put those things out of your head. And I think that's the way that these guys are wired. But it was I imagine a very difficult week for him.
Absolutely.
How's MD doing? The other MD?
Yeah, he's doing good. I hope he's listening right now. He's home, so we'll see. I'll quiz him on some things later.
I wonder what year he is in that Madden franchise. That he's
I don't know. I think he's on FIFA. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Michael
He
Dunn,
hasn't
player.
been playing that much lately, so I don't know. He's on his phone all the time.
The new FIFA is great because there's a like a player mode where you can try to blackmail the coach.
That was a good one.
Thanks.
Oh, I see what you did there. Okay. I didn't realize that. Okay. I thought you were being literal. I was like, that's a weird thing to add. That's a weird feature to add to the game.
I mean, they should add that. That would be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? What's your sense, Zach, of Sirianni's expectation for what the Giants are going to do in this game, resting starters wise?
I think that they're probably expecting it to be similar to what the Eagles did Week 18 last year against the Cowboys, where a lot of the key guys they sit, maybe some of the main players, or I'm sorry, not main players, maybe some of the younger players or players who have milestones or contract incentives, whatever it may be, play for a bit. But look, I mean, there are examples. Shane Steichen mentioned. There are examples in the past of teams that they play their starters and I'm sorry, teams that play their backups. I'm trying to phrase this correctly. Teams that play their backups and were really competitive. So you never know how they're still NFL players, right? And even the Gardner Minshew last year showed some juice in the first half of that game against the Cowboys. It kind of got out of hand thereafter. But my guess is that the Giants are going to rest a lot of their players.
One thing occurred to me, by the way, since we only spent 8 minutes on Sua, just to circle back, remember that Brett Toth now has begun his practice window. So that's an extra backup offensive line body they have. So it does sort of make sense that they were a little bit heavy there. And Toth is a guy who has played center and tackle in the past. And I imagine that means he can play guard too. So it sort of makes sense. All right. Why don't we send this bad boy to break so that we can get Professor Deniz ready for coming on to talk about playoff scenarios. I'm sure there's going to be an extended Jonathan Gannon discussion, maybe some check-in on some of our silly games on Birds with Friends. Back on the other side.
Say goodbye to last year's outdated, disorganized methods of managing your money and say hello to Rocket Money, the better way to hack your finances in 2023. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, or that free trial you never even used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as a click of the button. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Rocket Money is a good way for me to find the unused subscriptions that I forget about, and it allows me to cancel my subscriptions with just a click of the button. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/athletic. That's rocketmoney.com/athletic. rocketmoney.com/athletic. Winter mornings are brutal, so here's my tip for tackling the day in comfort. Grab new Tommy John loungewear and take cozy wherever you go. When you start the year in Tommy John, you're that much more comfortable, so you can do everything better. Tommy John loungewear, pajamas, and underwear have dozens of comfort innovations like luxuriously soft tri-blend and micromodal fabrics with four-way stretch, and no lint balls or fuzz. With over 20 million pairs sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, people love Tommy John. That's why Tommy John doesn't have customers, they have fanatics. Like this Tommy John fanatic who raves, quote, "I bought one pair of loungewear and after wearing them for 2 days, got all the other colors available. The only place I don't wear them is in the shower." Plus, it's all backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. Get 20% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/athletic. 20% off right now at TommyJohn.com/athletic. See site for details.
All right. Back on Birds with Friends. Bo, Zach, and Marissa now joined by the professor himself, Deniz Selman. How are you, doctor?
Good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. Where would you like to start? Would you like to start with playoff scenarios? Would you like to start with Eagles talk? What floats your boat?
I would like to start by saying, on behalf of, I think, a lot of your listeners, I would like to thank Marissa for her insights the other day. And just
Thank you.
for giving us an opportunity to see things from the perspective of a family member of a player. I think like we spent so much time, watching football and watching other sports, and we kind of allow it to take over, a lot of our thinking and our emotions. But it's so easy to still have it be in the part of our lives where it's like, well, it's people we don't know, right? And I think hearing from a family member and hearing your perspective, it kind of made me think, I think combined with the line in Bo's story where Carlene Graham says, it's entertaining for y'all, but it's crazy to watch for me.
Yep.
It kind of made me think maybe like the best I'm going to be able to do at this, right? Like is to maybe imagine that I'm always watching the game, like with somebody's mother or somebody's spouse, and kind of think of it that way. And I think it's something that I'll try to do more going forward. Like, when you're criticizing a player, when you're, upset about something in the game, like think about it from the perspective of like, how is their family feeling about that? Like, how are they reacting to it? And I think that would make everybody behave in a more positive way. So I just wanted to start with that. So
I appreciate that, Deniz. Thank you. And I'm like, the Birds with Friends family is so amazing. And the listeners are so awesome. And it's great to be able to come on here and do that. So thank you guys for letting me share those thoughts.
Although partly in jest, I say this, that Carlene Graham quote made me think of Birds with Friends. Right? It's entertaining for you all.
Zach understands.
Well, speaking of people who have families, Jonathan Gannett. I don't know. That's all I wanted. That's the
segue. Yeah.
Well, do you? I mean, I will.
In case you don't know, he's the defensive coordinator of the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. I just want.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen, I would normally say, like, this isn't 1983. Are we still counting yards? Right.
Number one. Like, let's be fair.
Also, points per game. I mean, that does matter as well.
12th in points per drive. Let's not go crazy. Look, I we were having this discussion the other day with some people, and it was like, how can you say that, people were very upset this week that some people were blaming the defense for that game against the Saints when the defense, by the numbers did fine, right? And the offense was terrible. And I obviously it was the offense's fault that the Eagles lost that game. But there's something weird about the fact that we're in Philadelphia. Like I grew up with Buddy Ryan and, Bud Carson and Jim Johnson defenses and the vet going crazy when the defense takes the field and everything. This defense is about to maybe break the record for most sacks in a season by any defense ever. And it's 5th in DVOA, right? It's 1st in passing DVOA, whatever, like all these like really good numbers. And the fans like dread it when the defense comes on the field. Like all the energy in the stadium is like sucked out of the stadium. I mean, like that 16-play touchdown drive to start the game against the Saints. That crowd was terrible anyway. It was a New Year's Day crowd. It was dead. Like, I could not get like my section going. Like I normally am pretty good at that. And it was just brutal. Brutal. Like, you stand up on the first third down, you stand up on the second third down, you stand up on the third down, and like by the 6th one, you're like, you fooled me 5 times. I'm not standing up the rest of this game. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened. And when that, like there's just like, it's really hard it's hard, right? Because it's like they're 5th in DVOA, they're 4th in EPA per play. Like, it's hard to find a number where it's like, well, that's why I don't like this defense. But I tried, and this is what I came up with. Okay. The first quarter thing is a real thing. Okay. They're 19th in first quarter DVOA. Mm-hmm. It jumps to 2nd in the second quarter. Yes. I think that makes a big difference in home games. Like it might not matter in away games that much, but it makes a huge difference in home games. I think the crowd, like in the Washington game and the New Orleans game, and look, this team's 13-3. Like we're not going to, it's not easy to find games to complain about, but those are 2 home losses. In both of them, the crowd was awful. And, one of them was a primetime game. There's no excuse for the crowd not to be good. And it really was like all those 3rd and shorts being converted over and over and over again. And when you look at it, this defense is 22nd in 3rd and short. are 17th and 3rd and medium and 1st and 3rd and long. Getting to 3rd and long should be a huge priority, right? But we saw in those games that the other team was very explicitly trying to get to 3rd and short, and it makes your EPA per play and all those numbers look really good. 4th in EPA per play, but only 14th in success rate. And I don't want to turn this into like analytics nerd stuff, but like, I mean, who am I kidding? I do, but like, I'll try to keep it short. The 14th in success rate versus 4th in EPA per play, I think that tells a story, right? That means there aren't explosive plays, and there are turnovers, 2nd in turnovers still. But there are also just so many of those like crowd killing, like 3rd and 3 conversions, right? Like 3rd and 4 conversions where it's like cover 4 and Hassan Reddick is on Chris Olave in the flat for some reason. And it's like, everyone's like, what the hell was that? And then, 3 plays later, it's like a very similar 3rd down and it's a very similar coverage and the same thing happens. And the success rate on early versus late downs, 13th on early downs, 22nd on late downs, is also consistent with what I'm saying. Like, so, I think that's part of what I wanted to say about that. Also, by the way, 32nd in the league in allowing 3rd and 4th and 2 or shorter. And what you would think with like all this beef on the defensive line and Fletcher Cox and Linval Joseph and Jordan Davis and all these guys you can throw in there, and Ndamukong Suh, I mean, like the guys that are on the field are like really good defensive linemen, and yet 32nd in allowing 3rd and 4th and 2 or less. The league average is 68%, which is lower than you might think it is. The Eagles are allowing 80% on that. So again, you don't want this defense to be in 3rd and short too often in the playoffs.
And that is that is the design of the defense, and that's basic. I mean, it is now shifted from a success conversation to a like philosophical conversation and like an aesthetic conversation, right? Like, maybe there is an intangible difference with the crowd, but it is like it has always felt like the style of defense, which makes sense that you do want to force the offense to maintain their, like move the ball down the field, not give up explosive plays, make them convert in the red zone. That does make sense, but it is sort of anathema to like the Philadelphia DNA and really like what defensive DNA for like football players has been for so long, which is attack.
Yeah, for sure. And even the sacks are not as exciting as those Jim Johnson sacks were. You know what I mean? Like, and it might sound silly to criticize that, but that is a huge part of the psychology of the crowd. And no, the coaches should not be calling the game based on how like the drunk people sitting next to me in the crowd react to the game. Mm-hmm. But it does, given that this team has been fighting all year to have home field advantage in the playoffs, I do think that home field advantage is dampened by the fact that the defense doesn't get the crowd excited. You know what I mean? Like it just this defense just doesn't excite the crowd despite breaking these sack records, because it's like, oh yeah, watching like some guy from the second level attack and get to the quarterback or whatever is more exciting than watching like, oh man, did you see the nickel carry the slot in cover 3, and like that's the reason that Javon Hargrave was able to get that cleanup sack. Like that's not as exciting, right? So. Anyway.
So I don't know what the Eagles normally do, but
I'm just trying to piss Zach off.
If they win the toss, toss, should they be on offense first at home? Is what you're saying?
That's an interesting question. I mean, the crowd is really, really like absent in the beginning of the third quarter because NFL halftimes are only 13 minutes and people aren't able to get back in their seats. And one of the reasons you want to be on offense then is because you don't have the crowd isn't even there for that drive. So I would still say defer because I think like a crowd that might get upset is better than a crowd that isn't even in their seats. But it's a good question. I mean, like it does, it's a valid question, I think, with this defense. Yeah.
I mean, I hear you. You're essentially talking about 2 games this year. If they have played 8 home games, right? So I'm going in reverse order. The Saints game, yeah, we saw what just happened there. Before that, the Titans game was 3 and out. The Packers game, the first drive, that was an interception on the opening drive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this does not hold up when you look at all the games. And I'm not trying to make an overall point about the defense being bad.
Okay.
And then that wasn't the goal. The goal was to, like, going into the playoffs, like, you know how you guys used to do,
Eagles
like,
to pick
if
on
the
Zach.
Eagles lose, what are we going to be talking about? Like, it's almost
Sure.
one of those. Like, it's like
Yeah,
how
I
can
hear
things
you.
go wrong? This is Philly. We don't talk about the 13 wins. We talk about the 3 losses, right?
Well, yeah.
Especially when 2 of them just happen. And when you allow all those, the ridiculously high completion percentages to Dak Prescott and to Andy Dalton,
Sure.
all those things, which are a little bit unfair because there are sacks in there too, right? So it's like the 24 for 24 in zone against Dak Prescott, but there were 4 sacks in zone, right? Like, so, like, you should count those. Like, I'm trying to be fair, but yeah, no, you're right. There are a lot of 3 and outs to start games as well. It's just a question of, like, was that because the other offense was bad, or is that going to be the case against better quarterbacks in the playoffs? I don't know. See.
I think that's the big question. Go ahead, Zach.
I get this in my email box and my timeline and my DMs and comments on my stories.
Flex.
And I that's not a flex. I'm like listening to what fans are saying. I try to, but it reminds me this year, what's like the lawyer adage that if the law was on your side, argue the law. If the facts are on your side, argue the facts. And if neither is on your side, just argue. And it's kind of like the third thing there. It's, when you talk about they're playing, they're getting all these sacks, but they're not like Jim Johnson sacks. To me, that's just arguing for the sake of it. I mean, this defense here now, where I do concede, and I said this on radio today, is that
And
this
boy, was
time
that
of
a
year,
long
Flex.
this time of year, you have to look at things not through the spectrum of what did Andy Dalton do to you. It's what would Dak Prescott do to you, or what would Tom Brady do to you, or what would Aaron Rodgers do to you? Like what they'll see in the playoffs.
Proselytize.
I agree 100% with what Professor Selman said here, in that you're thinking about what can cost you in the playoffs. And to me, it's not scheme. It's the middle of the field on defense. They are vulnerable. And when I went back and I watched that Saints game, and you see what they were doing, in particular on that first drive, it wasn't the zone that jumped out to me. It was how the Saints were scheming things for the middle of the field. Olave in the middle of the field. Jawan Johnson in the middle of the field. They were doing things to focus on the middle of the field there. And I think that is what the concern is, because you're going to face quarterbacks who are going to just beat you up in the middle of the field. Now, perhaps it's different when Gardner-Johnson's back, but a big reason why they're getting the sacks this year is they have really good corners on the outside. And I think when you're going to have to pass to win in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, and teams are going to say, where can we pass on the Eagles? And it's mostly the middle of the field. So I think that is the vulnerability that I'm most paying attention to.
And I think you are hoping, as an Eagles fan, that like there are some dips in the season, right? Like you can't just maintain a level of play as an individual for 17 games. And, James Bradbury and Darius Slay have had like slight little dips over the past few weeks. The linebackers, at least Kaiser White, has taken a pretty significant dip. That, obviously there have been injuries at nickel and safety. And so those guys have gone up and down. But I mean, I think you would hope that like Slay and Bradbury probably bring it back up a level come playoff time, if that's possible. But to what you're saying, like the real concern is, if you can get Kaiser White isolated, if you can, Reed Blankenship has been good, but are we sure that he's going to be nails in the playoffs? I mean, against Aaron Rodgers, yes, he owns him, but otherwise, is it even Blankenship? Is it Josiah Scott? We'll see.
But the thing that, I mean, I would just say, and this isn't to Deniz as much as it is to the fan base that's like blitz. The objective of a blitz is often to force a sack, or to get a sack or force a turnover. They are first in the NFL in sacks by like a historic margin. They're 4 sacks away from setting the NFL record. I know in 17 games as opposed to 16 games, but still. And they're second in the league in takeaways. So the two objectives, the two primary objectives, right? You can force an incompletion, but the two primary objectives to blitzing, they're doing as well or better than any team in the NFL at this moment. So I get it could look different in the playoffs. I get you have to factor in the quarterbacks that they've seen, but I think that a lot of the I don't know if I would call it distaste, but the sentiment about Gannon, I think it's like you're starting with the end of your argument and you're trying to figure out ways to validate it as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I want to respond real quick with two things. One, I think it's important to separate. Maybe it's because I teach behavioral economics and I'm always trying to kind of contrast the behavioral element from the kind of mainstream like reality of things. And
I like that.
I was trying to figure out like how come this defense looks so good on paper, like all the metrics say the defense is so good, but the feeling about the defense is so negative in the city, right? Like why isn't Jonathan Gannon popular? Like, well, like what about it? And so I was trying to kind of answer that question. If I probably dove in without stating the question there, so that was part of why I sound inconsistent with that. About the blitzing, I don't think this defense has the like appropriate roster to blitz a lot. I don't think you want this defense to blitz a lot. I don't think that that's the problem. I mean, one of the 3rd and 3s, I'm just looking at my notes, the second third down that they converted, Kaiser White is blitzing from like 15 yards away, like, trying to blitz the A-gap. He had no chance. And it left Josiah Scott like open against Olave in a way that, he got beat inside leverage. If that's not a blitz, like maybe that, isn't as easy to convert that. So there are examples where there is a blitz and it's like, oh, that's why they don't blitz, like it's like that blitz is not designed well. It doesn't really have a chance. So. Anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, you are Mr. Playoff Scenarios, Mr. What is the most equitable thing for the fairness of the league? I think we can talk about both the setup for Week 18 like in terms of the flexing decisions, and then also what the league has decided to do post Damar Hamlin. Why don't we start with that? Because if we start from the premise that they are not going to make up this game, just start there and accept that, what would have been or what would be your solution?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm glad you framed it that way, because if I'm sure they thought about it. I'm sure they talked to the teams, et cetera. Maybe they didn't want to play that game. There are all kinds of reasons why they wouldn't want to push it back. Obviously, the best way would have been to find a way to play the game. I think pushing everything back by a full week and letting the entire league breathe, think about their mental health, things like that would have been the best. But I'll answer your question the way you asked it. They're not doing that. Their solution. A lot of people were saying, why don't they just do it by win percentage? And it's like, well, because in practice, that's like basically a loss for the Bills, right? Like, and the Bills that were 2 wins away from being the number 1 seed.
But also for the Bengals.
Just do it by win percentage. What's that?
But also for the Bengals, who were winning that game.
For sure. So yeah. So maybe I should. I'll kind of paraphrase from my very long Twitter thread on this. And if you go on my Twitter, you might be able to find this. I've been posting a lot of playoff charts and stuff. But amongst them, there's this thread on my thoughts about the proposal. I absolutely think the biggest 2 losers are the Bills and the Bengals, which is really unfortunate. Like, they were the teams that had to suffer through the incident, like live through the trauma of watching one of their fellow players go down like that. And they're also the ones that are hurt the most, I think, by the proposal. The Bills are denied the full control of the 1 seed that comes with all the normal perks of the 1 seed by this proposal. It doesn't, give them a very good chance of getting the bye. They're probably not going to. And if they do get to the championship game, it's going to be at a neutral site, right? Like, it's not going to be like at home, right? So they didn't get really either of the perks of the bye. And then the Bengals, like Bo just said, were denied a very good chance of catching the Bills for the number 2 seed, not to mention a chance of catching the Chiefs for the 1 seed. Right. So, yeah, they were ahead in that game. They were at home, right? Like, their win probability was certainly over 50% at that point. They were on their way to getting the 2 seed, maybe, and now they have no chance at it, really, right? Like, they can still get it if they win and the Bills lose, but like, they were going to be controlling the 2 seed. So I do think that those are the 2 biggest losers from this. The biggest winners, clearly the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs are just basically handed control of the bye, which is the most valuable prize here. And I think it's under discussed, like, how important the 1 seed is in a conference that has 3 really good teams and the rest of the teams are kind of whatever. it means you only have to play one of the other two teams. Like,
Right.
like no one's even talking about that. They're like, oh, let's put the AFC Championship game at a neutral site. Well, good luck getting there when you have to
Right.
play one of the other, good
Right.
teams in the conference. Like the Bills and Bengals are likely going to have to play each other now, right, in the second round, while the Chiefs play whoever, whatever much lesser team gets there. And then the other two winners, and this speaks to the other question of the pre-Damar Hamlin incident flexing that the league did. Those winners are the Dolphins and the Steelers. And I am actually happy about this part. The way they did it, they've now given Buffalo something to play for Sunday at 1:00. There was a chance that the Chiefs would have already locked up home field. There's a chance that the Bills would have already locked up home field by the time the Bills played because they flexed the Chiefs to Saturday. Now, because of the neutral site and coin flip stuff that they did, there's going to be something for the Bills.
Which has
to play
still not
for
been
them.
officially approved yet, right?
No,
It was this morning.
Oh, it has. Oh,
It was this
Okay.
morning. Yeah.
Okay.
The
It
Bengals,
was,
I
and it
think,
was
were the
approved
only
actual-
ones.
it was approved as written. They didn't change anything.
Okay.
So
The actual neutral site has not been determined.
picked. Yeah, yeah.
they haven't picked the
Okay.
city. Yeah.
Okay.
And the Bengals are very upset by this ruling.
Yeah, Zach Taylor said it's
Yeah.
good for others, it's bad for us, or something like that. Like when he was asked.
I think he
about
said
it.
it's against the NFL rule book or something of that nature.
I do generally agree with his point that you can't really be changing the rules on the eve of the final week of the regular season, but
Yeah, so you can if 24 owners say you can.
All right,
So-
exactly.
And I was like, this is too bad because he's not going to be able to find 9 teams that care enough, right? Like
Right.
like 9 teams that care enough to block it. So that's the problem. Now,
Wait, real quick, if I can just, this is Zach Taylor's quote. I'll be quick with it. There's
You're good.
several instances this season where the club is fined or people in our building are fined, and we are being told to follow the rules. It's black and white in the rule book. So now when we point out the rules and you are told we are going to change that, I don't want to hear about fair and equitable when that is the case.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. So Miami and the Steelers are winners by the proposal, and I think that that's actually good. But they're winners in a way that they should have never been in that situation. Like they should have been playing, like the Chiefs and the Bills should have been playing at the same time, and they should still be playing at the same time. Like the Chiefs are playing on Saturday and the Bills are playing on Sunday, and that's silly. There was no reason to flex that Chiefs game to Saturday. And I talked for a long time last year about how I feel about the predetermined Saturday doubleheader. It was always a bad idea.
It's an opportunity to bring up your proposal, which I think makes a ton of sense. Every
Playing
year,
one conference on Saturday and
Right.
the other on Sunday.
yeah,
Exactly.
final week of the regular season,
And then
AFC
if-
Saturday, NFC Sunday, you flip it every year. Makes
And if
total
the games
sense.
are super dependent on each other, play them at the same time. You
Yeah.
know, like and then if they're dependent in the way that, for example, Dallas, right? Dallas needs to win and have the Eagles lose. In that situation, I think it's okay to have Dallas play first, as long as it doesn't make the Eagles lose anything to play for. So this was a perfect opportunity. They could have put Dallas or San Francisco on Saturday. As long as the Eagles are playing at the same time as one of those
as
teams.
one of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's all they needed. So they had this perfect setup where they could have moved either Dallas, and Dallas gets good ratings no matter who they play. They could have put Dallas on Saturday and just have
They
the
could
Eagles
put
play
the
at the same
Steelers
time as
on
the
Saturday.
49ers.
The Steelers could have been a Saturday game too, right? Because they need other people to lose. Well, not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like anyone else was just going to relax when the Steelers lost. That's true. That's a
Right.
good point, Marissa.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They could have put the Steelers on Saturday too. There would have been like a very unlikely scenario where that sort of took something away, but yeah, very small, very small. That's a good point. Or Miami for the same reason.
Right.
And the inconsistencies with the proposal, and this is what the Bengals are saying, right? They're saying, why do we have to go to a coin flip to determine where we're going to play the Ravens in the first round if we're a half game better than them in the standings, right? The logic there seems to be, well, because you might have lost to the Bills, and then you would have lost the division, hence the coin flip. But if they end up playing the Bills in the second round, there isn't going to be a coin flip
Right.
because the Bills are a full game better. And the NFL's reasoning is, well, they're a full game better than you, and you played the same number of games. But the Bengals could easily turn around and say, well, you're making us flip a coin because we could have lost that game.
Right.
Shouldn't we be flipping a coin because we could have won that game? Like, because if they won that game, they would have passed the Bills, right? And they were actually leading in the game when the game stopped. So I think that they have a beef there. The biggest
That is
inconsistency,
absolutely that. It feels like a very cut and dry. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
There should be that second.
and yet, like,
and
I have
like it
gotten
also
some-
affects them too based on schedule next year and draft position as well.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they're like, by the way, we'll give you division champions hats,
Yeah.
Right.
which also come with having to play like 2 harder games next year.
Yeah.
The Chiefs. You have
And
to play
in
the
response,
Chiefs.
and we're gonna flip a coin to see if we get the home game that comes from that. It's like what? Like the hats and the hard games are not the thing we wanted.
Yeah. By the way, you get Mahomes and Allen next year, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. And then the other inconsistency, which is even worse, Bo, you said it was cut and dry. The being a half game behind versus being a whole game behind. If you wanted to play devil's advocate, you could argue, well, they played the same number of games. They were behind by a full game, so
Right.
that's why there's no coin flip. But what about this one? If the Bengals win and the Bills lose, Cincinnati gets the 2 seed, everything's fine. But if you have Kansas City lose and Buffalo and Cincinnati both win, then the most likely divisional game is Bengals at Chiefs. It's 3-2. Bengals are half a game behind the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs, right? They would have passed them if they had won on Monday night. There's no
they're
coin
not
flip.
flipping that?
There's no neutral site. That game's just in Kansas City.
Really?
But
I didn't even know
listen,
that.
But listen, if the Bills lose, which doesn't even have anything to do with the Chiefs and the Bengals, then it's Chiefs 1, Bengals 2. And if that ends up being the AFC Championship game, that's at a neutral site. So it's neutral site if it's 1 versus 2, but it's not neutral site if it's 2 versus 3. Basically, They are saying the divisional playoff location doesn't matter. We're
That's
only going to
interesting.
address the AFC Championship game location, and we can't be planning neutral sites like every week. But there's no coin flip either, so that's clearly inconsistent. Like it's literally the
bad.
same 2 teams, same 2 records. It's just 1 versus 2 instead of 2 versus 3, and it's in a different round.
That one should just be a coin flip.
One of them's a neutral site, one of them's a nothing. So that's inconsistent for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, a part of me, and look, I hear everything you're saying here, and I agree with you. A part of me, though, it's, I mean, not on the same scale, but I'm hearing these stories from fans who, lost fantasy football championships or are things like that. Like someone almost died on a football field, right? If the playoff seeding is affected, just win your games, right? It sucks, it stinks, but like this is the situation everyone's in.
Yeah, I mean, there are no good solutions.
Yes.
Which is sort of why, and you can tell me what you would have done if you were in charge, Deniz, but I sort of think it's like there are no good solutions here. It sucks. We're not going to do anything. Like, just let it be. And it just like forget about the coin flips, forget about the neutral sites. You just play it as it lies. I mean, I had to play it on Frankenstein's fat foot. Yeah.
Yeah. Winning percentage, right? Yeah. So, and
I think
it's
they
a
were
tough
probably
situation.
They were probably concerned that would have been an even bigger punishment to the Bills. Like, I think they were sensitive about not making the Bills be the team that's punished. And the fact that game didn't finish would have punished the Bills more than anyone else. So by giving them the neutral site against the Chiefs, they're probably figured, well, at least we're not making them go back to Kansas City, which is what they've been playing to avoid the whole year, is they don't want to go back to Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
So
I just wonder if they have someone like Deniz in the league offices. Like,
well, there's nobody like him.
no, I mean, obviously, but
I'm sure there are a lot of very smart people at NFL research. They're not as good at making spreadsheets as me. Their spreadsheets
Definitely
are kind of
not.
ugly.
Definitely not.
Kind of clunky, ugly, bad fonts.
No colors.
Yeah, no, pretty bad. But I'm sure they're very smart. I'm sure they are restricted by all kinds of things I can't even imagine.
Right.
Venue availability, gambling partners, whatever,
Right.
like all kinds of things that I never think about. So I'm sure it's not easy.
Also, Wharton's pretty good too. All right. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine overall, like Wharton would have smarter people than most places in this world. So
I don't know about that. I mean,
and in their regular flex scheduling of this week, pre Monday night, is it fair to say that the Seahawks have the biggest beef with what they did?
Absolutely. And the same thing happened to the Ravens last year, and it wasn't discussed that much because there was the crazy tie game scenario with the Chargers and the Raiders and everything.
Which
that we
you
discussed
very
before.
nearly predicted on
Yeah,
a
that was
Shield
awesome.
Brandon Graham level.
Almost. I mean, Shield got the exact second of that right, which is crazy. The Ravens last year needed to win and have some other team lose, or so needed to have some other team help them with a win to get in. But as soon as they won, it eliminated the team that they needed to win. I don't even remember which team it was. And that's exactly what they did to the Seahawks. The Seahawks need to win and have the Lions beat the Packers. But the Lions need to win and have the Seahawks lose to the Rams.
It's a weird,
And-
it's
And
weird how
they
that
put
works out.
they put the Lions Packers on prime time. It is the only NFC game. So Marissa, it's the next one, I guess, if you're doing the NFC one. It's the only NFC game that has a chance to matter for both teams. Like will definitely matter for both teams. Unless you play the Seattle game before it. Like the only only way they could have messed it up was having Seattle play earlier, because as soon as Seattle wins, Detroit's out, and now they're just playing spoiler. And as much as you can say, well, like Dan Campbell, and they're going to play hard. And
Yeah, they are like fully banking on
They're
Dan
gonna
Campbell's
be
lunacy. Like,
so deflated. Like it'll be like half an hour before kickoff. They're going to be like, by the way, this isn't to get into the playoffs. Like, this is just for fun. This is just to spoil it for the Lambeau crowd or whatever. It's not going to be nearly the same thing. And so I think they clearly should have played those games at the same time. It's ridiculous that they're pre-committed to playing only one game in prime time. Just play them at the same time in prime time.
Yeah.
Like if like make the TV contract allow for that on week 18, or you just have to play them both at 4:25. Like, or even like not as good, but better, play it before the Seattle game. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that could have been the Saturday night game.
That would potentially kill the Seattle game, but it wouldn't have any externalities. Like it's like that wouldn't, like the Rams aren't playing for anything, so it's not like Seattle being deflated is going to affect anything.
right, play that Saturday night and then the Jaguars Titans game Sunday night. Right?
Yeah, something like that. That would have been.
By the way, don't roll out the
Jaguars
Rams winning
Titans
that game.
Sunday night would not have worked, Bo, because there's an outside chance that the Jaguars would have already been in.
Yeah.
That would have taken away part of the juice. So I wouldn't have liked that. But
Yeah, don't rule out the Rams winning that game though
Okay.
against Seattle. So
I'm not ruling it out. Yeah.
okay.
You got some
Seattle
inside
lost,
so.
at
info?
home, Seattle lost at home in Week 17 to Arizona like 3 years in a row when they were playing for like home field and stuff. So they can definitely.
Yeah, but now they've got
weird
Geno.
things can happen on the last week.
All right. Should we take a little break and come back and do Swooper?
Oh, we only have one.
I think
break
it's
today.
one break episode. Yeah.
Oh, it's a one break up.
Yep.
Even better. Let's get into let's hit the Swooper sounder then.
Yes.
Hold on, are we doing Crystal? I think we should do Crystal Ball
yes.
Eagle first.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Little surprise for you guys.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry about it. Didn't mean to.
Ooh, I did not do well this year.
Hold on. So I was on, if you guys recall, just before the season started, and you guys had me give points to various things that you guys predicted, and I did not want to do it, and and I didn't even make a spreadsheet of it like until this morning. I went back and re-listened.
Uh-oh.
And I thought it would be fair to at least go through how it turned out. So real quick, we will start with Zach. The Eagles don't have a winning record against AFC South and NFC North teams. I said that this was pretty bold. I gave it 7 points on a 3 to 8 scale. Bo complained that he couldn't believe it was that high, a point total. And I was proven right by the fact that the Eagles went undefeated against those teams.
Okay.
A perfect 8-0.
Yeah, but as you pointed out, this is a historically good division.
Yes, exactly. Zach gets no points for that. Jalen Hurts rushes for at least 1,000 yards. This is a 7-pointer for Zach. Jalen Hurts needs 253 yards on Sunday to reach this.
Yeah, if you
probably
play 2
not
more
gonna happen.
games, maybe.
If he was, I think he was on pace and get close.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The Eagles have 2 players reach 1,000 receiving yards. That did happen. That's 6 points for Zach. So
That's a
puts
good
him
one,
up
Zach.
6-0.
That's a good one.
6-0. And then he has a chance to get another 6 points if one of the Eagles' assistants gets hired in the offseason as a head
Wow,
coach.
you gave that a 6-pointer after all the gassing up of Gannon last year?
It was vocally protested at the time as well.
Okay, all right. Well, I stand by that.
The Eagles reach at least 40 sacks. That's a 4-pointer. Zach was very upset that it was only 4 points. I mean, the Eagles, obviously reached 40 sacks. Just those 4 players reached
That's
40
right.
sacks. And then the Eagles win a playoff game can give him another 4. So he currently has 10.
Okay.
Okay, now Bo, 8-pointer. Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars win at the Link in Week 4, either by double digits or with a last-minute score. They came close, but didn't do it.
It's worth a shot.
They were up by double digits.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Devontae Smith has 2 touchdowns in the same playoff game. This is a 7-pointer, which obviously
Definitely going to happen. Yeah.
can happen. Titans wide receiver gets flagged for responding to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This would have been tough because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson didn't play in that game.
Blew it.
Yeah. In at least one of the games against the Commanders, Fletcher Cox says something personally denigrating against Carson Wentz.
Okay.
That didn't happen either.
He didn't get well. Maybe if that second game,
the one he didn't play would have been the perfect time to do it. Dallas Goedert finishes as a top 3 fantasy tight end. I don't know anything about fantasy. I had to ask people if this happened or not, and they told me that
I think it was on the periphery of per game, right? I think he was 4th or 5th in per game, but
he still wasn't in the top 3.
Yep.
And then the Eagles have at least 12 plays of 40 yards or more. So I had to go back and look at this. And this is kind of fun to go through real quick. Week 1, 54-yard AJ touchdown at the Lions, 53-yard Quez touchdown against the Vikings, and then 3 against Washington, 45 and 44-yarders to Devontae, including the one where he didn't have the second toe down. First career target for Grant Calcaterra was a 40-yard reception.
Yes.
So there were 5 in the first 3 games. However, there was only 1 in the next 7 games. The 43-yarder by AJ against the Steelers was the only one.
Okay.
The other long one in that game was a 39-yarder. That stretch included the Washington game where the longest play of the game was 16 yards. That was brutal. Even more brutal game against the Colts the week after that. So there were actually only 6 after 10 games. So, Bo, you needed 6 more in the last 7 games. 42-yard Jalen Hurts scramble against the Packers. 40-yard touchdown by A.J. Brown when nobody was covering him against the Titans.
Ran over a guy. Yeah.
No, the one where no one covered him was the 40-yarder. There was just nobody. He pushed the guy over. And
that's what I mean. He ran over a guy. Yeah.
Oh, ran over. Yeah.
The
41-yarder Devontae touchdown against the Giants where Julian Love whiffed on it.
Right.
And then the 40-yard Miles touchdown to seal that game. And then against the Bears, the 68-yarder to A.J. Brown, 45-yarder to Devontae Smith gets you to 12. And then Minshew threw in 2 for you as well. The 48-yarder, the sluggo to A.J., and then the longest play of the year, last week's 78-yard touchdown. So 14, 3 of them were exactly 40 yards. So it's really good that you said 40 or more. And that gets you the points. So the only way I need a
Devontae Smith 2 touchdown game in an Eagles loss.
In an Eagles first round loss, exactly.
Right.
Followed by none of the assistants getting hired. You also need Jalen Hurts to not get 253 yards
in this game
this week.
Okay. Yep. Zach, nicely done by you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm going to give Deniz a little. He gave you too many points on those, but that's okay.
Figured you would.
All right. Swooper then. If we move on, hit the sounder. Yeah. Zach, start us off.
5.
What?
Wait.
Deniz just ruined Zach's weekend.
Swooper.
Oh! Beautiful. We enter this week. I have lost a point after Shields' win last week, so I have 8 on the season. Zach has 4. Marissa has 2. I have 57 turkeys with which to bid. Zach has 29. Marissa has 34. And away we go. I went first last week, so how about Zach? You lead us off today.
Okay. The first one is Javon Hargrave sets an Eagles single season record for sacks by a defensive tackle. And that's a roundabout way of saying Javon Hargrave gets 1 sack in this game because he is a half sack behind Andy Harmon. Now, the 1 sack is important because a half sack would only tie it. He would not set it, I believe. He's a half sack shy of tying the record at 11.5. So he needs 1 more sack to set the record. So Javon Hargrave gets a sack and sets the Eagles record for sacks by a defensive tackle.
I'm surprised Andy Harmon has the record and not Jerome Brown.
That's a good point. I'm going based on the Eagles game notes here, but let me do a very quick Jerome Brown Yeah, Jerome Brown's single season high for sacks was 10.5.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6. Do you think Javon Hargrave is pricing himself out of re-signing with the Eagles?
No, because I think it's a position they prioritize, and I think that
He's going to get paid, though.
he is going to get paid.
I think he might be playing too well.
Was it? Are you at 6 now?
Yes.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Sold.
All right.
That's a good one for
6.
All right, Marissa.
Okay.
Speaking of Eagles D tackles, did you guys see Ndamukong Suh tweeted this morning that he just tweeted
It's his
himself
birthday.
that it's his birthday today?
you. Yes. Yes.
which I found
He
very
tweeted
funny
what?
because he just tweeted
It's my
that it was
birthday.
his birthday.
Oh, okay, it's
And
my birthday.
I thought it was funny because the Eagles used to tweet happy birthday tweets to like the
Right.
old social team used to tweet happy birthday tweets to like the punter they brought in to work out that day and stuff. But they don't do that anymore. So the players have
Well, they did. They did tweet Sue's birthday. I actually don't know if it was before.
Oh,
or
did they?
after
Okay.
Sue's tweet. Yes, but they
might
did
have
do
been.
that. I wanted to wish him happy birthday, but I did not see him in the locker room today.
I'm sorry.
All
All
right.
right, Marissa, what do you got?
Tyrod Taylor has more rush attempts than Jalen Hurts.
Well, this is a good one.
There was this was submitted like several times in the chat.
3.
4.
4 going once.
5.
6.
All you need
have
is
a
Jalen
number.
Hurts to not play. 6 going once.
Or then be careful with him.
6 going twice. Sold to Marissa. Do you think, Zach, if Jalen Hurts does play, that we will see a tangibly different game plan than a normal Jalen Hurts game plan?
I think you'll see an adjusted game plan. I frankly think it'll be comparable to what you saw in what was the first game back last year from the Yanko injury? The Commanders game?
Yeah, Commanders, yeah.
Was it the Commanders game? Yeah, I think you'll
Garrett
see
Gilbert.
one. I think you'll see one
Gilbert Godfrey.
comparable to that, where you run him to make sure that the defense stays honest against it, but it's not as featured in your game plan as some other games.
If you hear the children screaming,
Yeah.
that is my mother-in-law has the 2 kids upstairs,
Hmm.
and boy, do they get rowdy when she's here.
Yeah,
They're up
Khalif
there,
said in the
yeah.
chat, Michael's FIFA game must not be going too well.
That's a good line, Khalif.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, I have the next one. Combined snaps for Gardner Minshew, Davis Webb, and Ian Book is greater than the snaps played by Robert Quinn.
Ooh.
Can you mention the names again?
Gardner Minshew, Davis Webb,
Okay.
and Ian Book. Basically, any of the
The-
non-starting quarterbacks.
And Davis Webb is on the practice squad for what it's
He's
worth.
on the Giants practice squad. So this would be presuming that they just inactivate Daniel Jones and promote Davis Webb to be the backup.
3. Wait. No, Quinn has more. Those guys have more.
No, those
Those
guys have
guys.
more.
Oh, can I take back? I'm
I
sorry.
don't think so. A touch
Please.
move.
Please.
No way.
No. Yeah.
I mean, okay. I guess we got to give us to Deniz, but my obviously inclination is no.
I'm staying out of this.
Me too.
All right, then
We'll
it's
see
no.
what
Why do you get to decide?
3 going once. You could get it's a 14-point spread. Gardner
Someone
Minshew
asked
could
me
be
last
playing-
night what I thought. Someone asked me last night what I thought about the NFL just changing the rules like just before the last game, and I was quoted as saying it was not nearly as outrageous as Bo, just completely changing the
Yeah.
Swooper scoring rules.
Yeah.
Like
That's not
literally
true.
like 10 seconds before the season
That's not
starts.
true. Everybody
It's like, by the
is
way-
playing by the same rules. That's totally fair.
No, but it was like,
Wait,
by the way,
wait,
we're doing
wait.
Skins game or whatever.
3 going
Wait, time
twice.
out, Bo. Didn't you say last week that our new rule this week was going to be you have to bid on your own item first?
Oh, he did say that.
You did say that.
Okay,
That
well, I
was
would have
supposed to
been
go on-
one, and you jumped. You jumped.
No,
right to three.
so you bid one first with the rewind. You go one first.
You jumped. It doesn't matter if
No,
if.
Paul, how do I know?
But we already haven't
you-
been doing that. You didn't do it to start, and Marissa didn't do it to start, so we forgot about it.
I did bid on mine.
It doesn't. But you
Zach,
didn't
if you
open
hadn't
the
said
bidding
anything,
on your
someone
own.
probably would have bid 4. You know.
I'll do one if we want to go back.
No. He's in it for 3.
Zach, it might end up like
That's fine.
at
Look,
what
that's
point
fine.
does Hurts come out of the game?
Yeah.
If the score is what, does Hurts come out
Yeah.
of the game?
I think Quinn's going to play though. So, but
Great,
look,
but-
Twice.
If they're up by 20 points in the third quarter and Minshew plays the fourth quarter, he should easily.
But wasn't Tyrod Taylor
Look-
one of the people?
No,
He's probably going to start.
No,
he
it
was
was
not.
It was Davis
No,
Webb.
It's just Webb,
Ian
Book,
Book.
and Minshew.
Oh, no Tyrod Taylor. Okay, sorry.
Sold for 3 to the
I
handsome
mean,
man.
to as a line that I imagine Bo used quite a bit in college. You know, when Duke would come into Lawrence Joel Coliseum, it's 8 against 5 here, right? I remember every
Think
time I
use that line a lot.
every time I covered a Duke or Carolina game at Virginia or Virginia Tech, invariably fans would say it's 8 against 5, right? So look, I'm not just playing against the competition here; I'm playing against the rule maker too. So
What if you like? What?
Zach, you
What?
were-
What
you
if?
were,
What somebody jumps off sides or has a false start, and they're like, "Well, you didn't mean to snap it. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we take it back? You said it. You did it. You went in."
okay, all right.
Speaking
look,
of,
we're already at 5:13.
Duke-
It was
Let's
only
keep going.
3. It was only 3. Yeah.
Zach,
Okay,
you were too young for this, but my freshman year in college at UVA, Duke came to town, and there were 5 seconds left in the game, and UVA was up by 1, and Duke was inbounding the ball from the basket that was
Marissa
right in
yawning
front of
right
where
at
I
you.
was. Like, we were in the first row, and they didn't start the clock. There was like a clock malfunction,
Oh,
and Donald Hand, the guard for UVA,
Yeah.
was like jumping up and down and pointing at the clock like the clock's not moving. And Wojo was the guard for Duke, and he drove past Donald Hand, got fouled, down by 1, and the refs decided to count everything that happened and then just estimate how much time came off the clock by watching the video. So they
Yep.
just ruled like 1 second left, Wojo 2 free throws, like, and Duke won the game by 1. He hit both free throws. And
That sounds
was
like
it.
your origin story.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just absolutely frustrated, like just brutal.
so you know exactly what I'm
shout
talking
out-
about. Why people at JPJ or at Castle Coliseum would always
Yeah.
say that it was 8 against 5. Okay.
Yeah,
And Maryland
you
too.
U-Haul
Maryland
back in
was
the
a
day.
Duke
but-
fan.
Yeah.
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 All right, Dennis, it's
The
it's
racing
over to you.
thing behind me, by the way. Shout out to
I was gonna ask.
Cronenberg and Webb, the 2 guys from college who this was up in our college dorm, and I
Wow.
decided to bring it back to them. Yeah. Something
Very
that no one else cares about.
It's all right. That's an important part of the show is things that nobody else that are designed for 4 people.
Exactly.
All right, I believe it is over to you now, Dennis.
I'm ready.
Okay, number 4. Jalen Hurts has at least 1 rushing attempt, which is not a scramble, a kneel down, or a sneak. That's the item. And this is going to be sealed bid. And what we're going to do is, in honor of the way the NFL is handling the playoffs, it's going to be the top 2 are going to pay. And which one of them gets it is going to be determined on the post-game pod by a coin flip. Okay? So you don't really know
Oh, I
what
like
you're playing for.
Okay.
So if it happens, who gets the point will be determined by coin flip. But the paying happens up front, and you have to pay
Okay.
your own bid. If you're one of the top 2, if you're third, you don't pay anything.
And how do we? Who's flipping the coin?
Whoever's not involved
Okay.
of the
Good
3
one.
of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good answer.
And what's the item again? I just want to hear the clearly.
Jalen Hurts has at least 1 rushing attempt, which is not a scramble, a kneel down, or a sneak. So it either has to be a design quarterback run
Design
or
run.
a keeper on his own read or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
4.
3 for me, 4 for Marissa, 2 for Zach. So Zach does not
Okay,
pay.
so Marissa and Bo pay, and then
We
they
have
will
the
have the
coin
coin
flip.
flip.
Okay.
All right, so I'm down to 48 turkeys. Marissa is down to 24.
Okay.
All right, Zach, you're up.
Okay, and I will change this one if this was a carryover from last week. I don't keep track of that, but I don't believe it is. A.J. Brown breaks Mike Quick's single season record for the Eagles for receiving yards. A.J. Brown has 1401 right now, and he is 8 yards shy of Mike Quick's franchise record, 1409.
Question for the group. Do I get a retroactive point for correctly predicting that he was going to have that last week?
No.
No.
Okay.
What? No.
But
I was like so confused.
That
I'm
is
like,
why
what?
you remember it, Zach, because that I predicted that was going to be one of yours last week.
Yes.
But as we've seen, Bo can just make up the rules, so he can give himself at the point retroactively if you would like.
I think the real people recognize that I deserve a point for that. But we won't put it in the book.
Okay. 4.
10.
11.
15.
16.
Mm.
Who got it first?
I heard Zach first, actually,
Okay.
but I
17.
could be wrong. $18.
How many do I have?
You have 24.
This is A.J. Brown needs 8 yards in the game.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get him injured? What is this? This is awful.
No.
You said 17?
I
he
said
said
18.
he's at 18.
19.
20.
8 yards with like Rodarius Williams covering him. All right.
Zach, how many turkeys you got left?
He's got 26.
Oof, okay. Can't let him have this, but I'm out.
20 going once.
How many turkeys does Bo have left?
48.
Oh, shoot.
We need him
Okay.
to use a lot of his turkeys here, Zach.
That was
He's
kind of
been
my goal here.
been
That was
carrying
my
over-
goal.
Yeah. He's been carrying over so many.
Yeah.
Sold.
Sold the bow. All right. I like that because we needed him to.
That's why I put that in there.
Yeah. Good one,
Yes.
Zach.
You're up, Marissa.
Okay. An Eagles player who didn't play last week makes a notable play: a touchdown, interception, sack, forced fumble.
Touchdown, interception, sack, forced fumble. Does a passing touchdown count?
Deniz?
I mean, it's not. I don't know. What do they mean?
I'm gonna go. I
It
don't know,
makes
what do you
it
guys
kind of
think?
boring then, right? Because
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts didn't play. So I would say no.
Okay.
Yeah, let's say no.
Okay.
Okay. 2.
3.
4.
5.
And it's just the Eagles or someone on the Giants as well?
Eagles. Just
Eagles.
Eagles. Did I say 5 or 6?
5. 6.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good one. I have, at some point in the game, the Eagles score a touchdown on back-to-back possessions. Not just offensive. So if they happen to score a defensive touchdown, that counts. That qualifies.
3.
1. Oh, wow. 4.
But the defensive touchdown would have to come right after the offensive one, right?
Or right
Because
before.
otherwise it's like, well, no, if it's before that they go back on defense, then you would be counting like the one they scored, but not counting the one they didn't score. That's
I think that, like, in terms of possessions of the ball. So I think that does count.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
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 I agree.
You're
Four.
on 4?
Four
Okay.
going once. 4 going twice.
5.
But that means,
6.
Bo, it doesn't count. If the offense scores, then the defense gets a turnover. Oh, no, because it's still the same
Yeah.
possession. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I'll stop trying to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
6.
I appreciate that. Poke. Ooh, 6. It's old school Facebook with a poke. You remember poking?
Yes.
6 going once. I feel like Zach was a big poker.
As Zach rolls his eyes.
Where are you going with that one?
I mean, just the type of person
Poke followed by
who
asking
would-
about the homework or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The type of person who would memorize every 6th grade girl's phone number is the kind of person who's going to
I
be
was not poking
sending
on
out pokes
Facebook.
left and right.
I was not poking on
Yeah.
Facebook, okay?
What about bumper stickers?
What is
What was
that?
that? What's that?
What?
Yeah.
That was like right when I first joined Facebook.
Yeah.
You would send all those little, like they were like little graphics, like little meme type things.
Oh,
Pretty sure that's what
my
they were
cousin
called.
sent me those. I was like, what are
Yeah.
these? How do you do this?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
I
know.
mean, maybe it was part of like the younger Facebook generation, but yeah, I was sad when they went.
My
away.
cousin is
I
20
don't even
years
use-
younger. Just
All right, Zach has it for 6.
Mhm.
6 going once. 6 going twice. Sold to Zach.
Okay.
That's a good one, Zach. Number 8. Professor.
Okay. Both Janarius Robinson and one other player are placed on IR before the game.
Ooh.
The Sua Peta news obviously makes this, changes the odds on this a little.
So
But
3
yeah,
players
both
need to
Janarius
get on the
Robinson
active
and one other
roster
player.
right now.
What's that?
But they have to go based on an IL. Yeah. So 3 players. If Quinn, Gardner-Johnson, and Kern are on the 53, they
to
need
open a
2
spot.
additional players, and they could waive
And
somebody.
they could waive somebody
Yeah.
tomorrow also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just
But
not
why wouldn't they
elevate,
have
just
done that
not-
today?
Well,
a good question.
These are all the things you have to
Good point.
consider. So this
One.
is going to be. Hold on. No. This is going to be reverse touch. Okay. Since I'm here, we may as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The reverse touch is the one where I count up, and you have to say, "What do you say? Swooper out, or I'm out, or whatever."
Okay.
To be and then whoever doesn't say it is left with the item.
Okay.
At
Okay,
whatever
but
the
you have
last
to
number I
pay
said is.
wherever
But we
you
don't
go
have to
out.
pay if we don't.
You pay,
don't get
yeah.
it.
You don't pay if
You're right.
if you
It's-
say
there's
you're
just
out.
one-
But if you're
one
the last
pair,
person,
right.
if you're the last person left, you pay whatever the last number I said is.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna say 1, then I'm gonna say 2. Okay, like that. Okay, ready?
Mhm.
Okay, 1, 2, 3,
Swooper
Out.
out.
4,
I think
5.
we're both out.
Yeah, we're both
6.
out. So
So I think
Marissa
you're
gets
right.
it
Okay,
for
okay,
3.
sorry.
3. Yeah.
I didn't
Marissa
hear. I
gets it
didn't hear
for free.
Zach. So
Yeah,
okay,
so-
got it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, in terms of roster news, by the way, Ojulari and Leonard Williams were both ruled out for the Giants, and Adoree Jackson is doubtful, and John Feliciano is questionable. And John Feliciano not playing might mean that the starting center for the Giants is Jack Anderson. I thought that might be a fun.
Oh,
Nugget
Jack
Wow.
Anderson.
Wow.
Jack
That's
Anderson
good.
playing starting 2 Week 18 games in a row.
Oh, good one, Zach. Good nug.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Right.
Doug.
Good
Very
nug.
good.
He started with Kelsey last year.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
good nug.
Yep. There you go.
All right, I'm up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine, as you notice, are Eagles themes, our record themes, I should say, setting records. The Eagles set the NFL record for sacks in a season.
I was waiting
And-
for this one. I feel like
Yes.
everyone had this written down.
Wow. Calling Zach uncreative. All right.
No,
Uh,
I mean it's an obvious one. I was calling you uncreative, Zach.
So they are 4 sacks shy of the NFL record.
Okay.
1.
3.
4. So it's not. It's sole possession of the record or tying the record?
They're setting the record.
Okay.
So they
And they
need
need
5
4
to set the record?
They need
Or
5 to do it? Okay.
They are, let's see here, 4 sacks shy of the NFL record. Yeah, the record's 72.
Okay.
So they need 5 to set the record.
Okay.
What about a half?
4.5 would do it.
Yeah, or 4.5 would do it as well.
Yeah.
But you can't get 4.5 sacks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right.
Teams can't
Yeah.
get half sacks.
Yeah, true. Okay.
I'm
Where
at
are we on
3.
the bidding here?
I'm at 3.
Okay.
There was a play real quick. You know how team can't get a half sack? Team also can't get 2 sacks on a play. There was a play last week when Christian Ellis's brother, what's his name?
Caden.
Forced a
Caden,
fumble. Yeah, he forced a fumble that would normally have been a sack, but Minshew recovered it and then got sacked by somebody else. And they're not both allowed to get sacks. And so Caden Ellis lost his sack because
awful.
They give it to the other guy. Yeah, I thought it was
brutal.
really interesting. Like they have
That
to
is a good
bookkeep it
nugget,
somehow.
yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
think maybe they would give them both a half, but he just loses. He gets a forced fumble, but not a sack.
That's tough.
Even though it's a forced fumble of a quarterback. Like, yeah,
That's
it's
tough.
weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll say 4.
5.
6.
7.
7 going once. 7 going twice.
So
Sold to Zach. All right. Marissa.
Okay. The Giants convert at least 3 third or fourth downs on QB runs.
The Giants convert at least 3 third downs on
Or fourth
QB
downs.
runs. Okay. 1.
2.
2 going once. 2 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Okay. I like that.
All right. The Eagles and Commanders outscore the Giants and the Cowboys. So the Eagles are 14-point favorites. The Cowboys are 7-point favorites over the Commanders. So you are betting on these spreads to hold up here. The Eagles and Commanders outscore the Giants and Cowboys.
Commanders are starting Sam Howell.
Correct.
Or they're
Yeah.
playing or starting. Yeah. Okay.
Until the league announces that there are going to be 8 playoff teams and get some, and then Carson Wentz will be starting come Sunday.
2.
That would
4.
also clinch the number 1 seed for the Eagles if that happens, no matter how it happens.
That's right.
And then who had that one? Someone would get that point from last week. Zach. maybe?
Zach.
Yes, Zach. Yeah, Zach has a carryover point at in play here.
You're at 4, Bo?
I'm at 4.
5.
9.
Yours for 9.
Sold.
Oh, unless
9 going once. 9 going twice. Sold.
All right.
Okay. It was a big one.
Okay. All right. Close us out.
All right, is everyone ready? Last one.
Okay. I'm scared.
A prominent member of the Birds with Friends community. This can be anyone related to the show, as long as it's somebody who is just clearly related to the show. No one's going to say they're not related. Okay. Announces a major life event before the conclusion of the game. This is going to be a Dutch auction with unlimited borrowing from all future weeks. You can bid as high as you want. The Dutch auction is the one where you yell out Swooper. I'll begin the countdown. 100, 99,
Win.
98,
Swooper.
97.
Marissa, congratulations. I am so happy for you guys. Wow.
My heart is pounding.
Wow. Great job, Deniz. Marissa.
I feel like we need to explain for the audio listeners here.
Yes. Wow.
Baby done coming July 2nd,
Oh
2023.
my god!
Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
No wonder Michael
That is
didn't
amazing.
say
Yes.
anything the other day.
Literally, like, I have been waiting to reveal this on Swooper since we found out.
Oh my god!
and I wanted to wait till the playoffs, so I got an extra point for this. Being the true sicko that I am. But after the last episode, I had a message to Deniz this morning. I was like, I can't wait any longer. We got to do it today.
Oh,
So
I am
shout out
so
to
happy
Deniz for
you.
making that
Yeah.
so perfect.
Well, you spent
And-
all your turkey.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
we're
I get
giving
it
that
for
one to
free.
Marissa for free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that. I like that. But I
Oh
got to
my
tell you, Marissa,
God.
Bo actually told me today. He asked if July 1st is a good day for the Ospreys. So, you got so
Perfect.
come hell or high water. right?
live from the hospital.
Yes. Special award. And I do know the gender, but I'm thinking maybe I could wait till next week's Swooper and auction that one in there.
All right.
Or I could just tell you guys.
Oh,
but
congratulations! Oh
Thank
my
you.
god!
thank you.
Congratulations.
How you
We
feeling?
are super excited.
Congratulations.
I feel really good. I'm very tired.
We can't be keeping you up
I
until
knew you
4
guys
a.m.
were
for
gonna say
podcasts
that.
anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's totally fine. I have to get used to being awake at all hours. So, yes, very, very excited. But
Oh my
yeah, it's been
God.
the hardest secret to keep from you guys because I literally probably would have told you the next day that I found out. But I just was like, you know what? I got to reveal this in Swooper and make it, a true sicko moment.
Oh
So
my god!
I will say this is like very comical and like so me and Michael. The night that I found out I was pregnant was the game that they were playing the Ravens. The Browns were playing the Ravens, and Michael got called for that penalty. That wasn't actually him
Right.
on the field goal
Yep.
when the guy's leg moved. So it was like such a stressful game, and the camera zooming in on him and everything. And I'm in Baltimore with like 8 million family members, and Michael didn't want to see anyone after the game. It was this whole big ordeal. I flew back to Cleveland that night, and something in me was like, I'm gonna, take a test. And I was like screaming, and Michael comes in the room. He's like, oh my God. So talk about a range of emotions.
Oh my god!
Yes. So very excited and can't wait. So yeah, we'll be taking name suggestions throughout the next few months. So
Elijah.
any
Oh
of
my
the
God.
camp crushes. It was so hard keeping it in on the last episode. Like I actually during the break on the last episode, like ran into the other room and was like, should I just do it now?
Oh, that's
And Michael
funny.
was
Was he
like, no,
laughing
you
at
have to
the continued?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
so funny.
Yep.
Oh my god!
So shout out to Deniz for making that. So my heart was pounding as we were getting ready to do that. Never been so
Congratulations.
nervous.
It would have been hilarious if Zach had just yelled Swooper at like 99.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes. So
That's how did you? I mean, I told
Wow.
Emily immediately, so I can't imagine how hard it must have been for you to keep the secret.
so I told
Like as soon as
we
you told me this morning, I mean.
Oh yeah, it was very hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally tell Bo and Zach everything about my life on a day-to-day basis. Usually, like I'm a pretty open book. So there were many, many different times that you know what? Another time was girl names we like Sophie, and we had the whole Sophie's Choice conversation, and I'm sitting here like, oh my god. So there were many little things like that, but yeah, this was an epic moment. So I did. So then when you surprised us with Sheil the other day, I also was texting Michael like, should I do it while Sheil's here? And Michael was like,
and
no.
we mentioned the baby a few times on the show.
So I
Yeah.
did just text Sheil a little bit ago and told him Deniz has a really good swooper, but he's watching some Phillies World Series videos. So he said he'll catch up later, and he's going to try to avoid spoilers. So I hope Sheil is surprised too for all his all the baby's uncles on Birds with Friends.
So happy for you, Michael. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
oh my gosh!
Michael will be taking lots of dad advice. So if anyone has it, send it our way.
Low man wins. Oh man, I'm crying.
Oh, I've cried many times.
I'm not crying, but I'm very happy for you. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I mean, how do we even go on from here? This is too good.
Well, that's why it was item 12 and not item 4.
So so she just gets this item. We're okay with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think she's got to pay the 98 turkeys.
No, she does. Yes, Marissa, you deserve this and much more. So.
I'm also curious about who else would have qualified here for prominent Birds with Friends. You know, like, does Tito Santana count?
Well, I was trying to look like very like, what is this? Like into the camera. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you
on.
played it well. I had.
Yeah, but my heart was pounding. I wish you could have seen.
You also did a good job of like not explaining it, just going right into the countdown.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. He did it perfectly. It couldn't have been more perfect. I messaged him this morning, was like, so I want to make this part of Swooper, not really sure how. And I should have known Deniz would have the perfect way to do it. So.
And I responded by saying that this is the ultimate sign that this is her favorite podcast. I mean, could have announced it on any podcast.
That's exactly right.
Yes. This is a first public announcement. So I've obviously not done anything on social media, and obviously our families know and our close friends, but I have not done any public announcements because I wanted Birds with Friends to be the first spot for it. So yes, Baby Dunn will definitely be a sicko. But Baby Dunn will probably be missing most of football season next year. So that will be a little sad, but be here in spirit.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to not do the show. We can't do it without you.
Yes.
Or we'll just do a 2-hour one. Just yeah.
I'm sure Zach will be really upset that there
around.
won't be daily training camp.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we should close this out with a quick crystal ball eagle.
Yeah.
I'll be quick here. The Eagles,
a sonogram of sorts for the game on Sunday.
The Eagles win. The Eagles clinch. The Eagles cover. The 14 points are a big number, but the Eagles are going to play their guys. The Giants aren't. I can see the Eagles taking their foot off the gas late in the game if they get a big lead. The over-under in this game is – I should have had this up already. I am sorry here. 42.5 points. The spread is 14. So let me go with 28-12. No, 28-14. 28-14.
Okay. I will say the Eagles win and do not cover. Jalen Hurts plays, but is just okay. Tyrod Taylor does a few interesting things. It's a comfortable win, but not a overall domination. So let's say Eagles 29, Giants 18.
It occurred to me that I picked the push instead of the Eagles covering, which I think is fine. I'm good with taking a push, 28-14.
Good for you.
Okay.
I thought you said 12.
Appropriate.
I changed it to 14.
Oh.
Yeah. Push is appropriate for this show.
Yeah, there you go. So. Okay.
Deniz, are you
Get ready for a lot of those jokes, Marissa.
Are you going to do a prediction?
Get ready for just random people touching your belly without asking for permission.
Oh yeah. If you're into that, you should spend the time from now until then in Turkey. When you're pregnant in Turkey, you are like public property. Like everyone is like, oh, like all men, women, like different ages.
Turkeys.
Like yeah, just everybody. So.
Yes, I'm slightly growing day by day. So Michael still thinks I'm really not showing that much, but I do. So hope maybe by the combine we'll see. You guys might be shocked when you see, hashtag Marissa's belly.
That kid is gonna love NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Are you guys?
Well, I already said get in your
gaming
now. Get in your gaming now because gaming and golf. Sorry. What are you saying, Deniz?
You guys will all be in Arizona, right? If things go well.
If things go well.
TBD. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
TBD
okay.
For me.
I was going to say
our plans
the
have
Eagles
changed
are
a little,
0. Okay. The Eagles are 0-2 since Feldman and I bought our Super Bowl tickets. So, but if things go well, we'll be there. So it'd be great to see you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
No
Well-
prediction for me. I'm way too nervous. The upside of this game is like something that has been trying to happen for 3 weeks, and the downside is like historic collapse of a season. So
The Eagles need some Pitocin. Get this thing moving.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. What a moment that will go down in the history of the show. And so we will see you after the game, late Sunday evening. So for Deniz, for Zach, for Marissa, for little...
You guys want to give your predictions and I'll reveal it on next pod? Boy or girl? Or make it part of Swooper next week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
make
make
it
Okay.
part of Swooper.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Little baby Don. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you later. And mostly to Marissa and Michael, as always. We love you.